Hello there, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, survivor, advocate, and certified trauma recovery coach from danaarcuri.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new content. And if you are returning, welcome back. It's awesome to have you here. I have been thinking about something, and it's been in my mind actually for over 1 year. It is something that my clients and I discuss. Many clients of mine have personally experienced something very similar to myself. And I thought it could really bring valuable content to my YouTube channel so it could build awareness for others, especially anyone who has been in psychologically abusive relationships. And so at the core of this, after we have experienced narcissistic abuse, typically what can happen after we have gotten no contact, or even if we're in the midst of gray rock, or for some people, they may still be in a relationship with the narc, the flying monkeys, or other very toxic people. But at the gist of this, what really has been something remarkable that I have built awareness about, my clients are building awareness about, and together we're talking about this, is after we have suffered various forms of abuse, and keep in mind, it could be with your mother, your father, your siblings, other relatives, friends, a partner. It could be your spouse. It could be with a coworker, and various others who might cross your path. When we've already experienced narcissistic abuse, sibling abuse, or various types of traumas, we now understand and can clearly see other people who may have been in our life for a long time who are also toxic. And so the one thing that my clients and I have shared is that actually when we are now distanced and separated from at least one perpetrator who is quite unhealthy and has very toxic dynamics, and again, it could be your family member, it could be an ex-spouse, etc., we start seeing red flags, and it's all over the place. We start noticing, whoa, crossed my boundaries, and everything's always about them. Everything's always about meeting their needs. The relationship is not balanced. It's not mutual. And there are times where they are sucking us dry. It's like this emotional vampire, but we used to think they were our good friend. And all of a sudden we're realizing they're draining me. They're exhausting me. They're demanding that I bow down to every one of their wishes. Let's do this, let's do that. Everything has to be on their terms. And we may also notice that there are certain friends who we realize, you know what, that friendship from way back over there, like 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, they're really not even in alignment with who I am today, like over here. And so what happens is if we've had friendships, and we're just going to say from 20 years ago, what we might notice now that we're free from the narcissist, now that we're on the healing journey, now that we know about narcissistic personality disorder and psychologically abusive relationships and toxic friendships and various relationships, even with coworkers, we might come to a place where we can see now the signs that it's not a healthy relationship, that it's not a mutual relationship. There could be discrepancies in the way they communicate with us. So they may be saying one thing, and yet they're doing another thing, which is actually the complete opposite. So that's a conflict of interest. And I think it's important that we can understand, especially anyone who grew up in very psychologically abusive family dynamics, we can understand that while it may be common to go from one narcissist to another narcissist, and then go from one toxic relationship to another toxic relationship. And keep in mind, this is not blaming, this is not pointing the finger, this is simply stating, in the trauma community, I have learned that it's very common that if you've been in at least one abusive relationship, and say it is with a narcissist, it is actually very common and normal to someday land in another toxic relationship. And it may or may not be with someone who is a narcissist or a flying monkey, or just someone who is not meant to be part of your life. And I myself can say before 2018, so that timeline is before I went no contact with my narcissist mother and my toxic, jealous siblings and relatives. Prior to that timeline, which was 2018, I started getting the red flags with certain people. There were people on Facebook who had been my friends for 10 years, and all of a sudden, they were like Jekyll and Hyde. One minute they were sweet and kind and so compassionate, and the next minute they're screaming at me. They're sending me hostile messages on Facebook. I had, no joke, one person who claimed to be this upright, good Christian, and we had been friends for many, many decades, and out of nowhere, she flipped the switch, just like that. And that's what the narcissist does. They flip the switch. They have no filter. When that mask slips, beware, because we're going to see them they will become enraged. They will become manipulative. They will start screaming profanities at us, shaming us, telling us that we are wrong and they are right. They have this sense of entitlement. And this particular person had this big, huge conflict with me. And the most bizarre thing was the conflict was about healing. Can you imagine? So there I am, I'm on Facebook and I'm talking about healing, health, and hope, and I'm building awareness and, giving encouragement. And she starts battling with me, telling me, you're wrong, and that's not how you heal, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And I was just like, whoa, lady, put the brakes on. Whoa, what is happening with you? And I had to take a step back and reevaluate my friendship with her. And in essence, I ultimately came to the conclusion that just because she was my friend from a decade ago doesn't mean that she's in alignment with my core values, beliefs, and that she has a positive influence on my life. No, actually, she had a very negative influence on my life. And so I took this step back. I observed her actions, her behaviors, her motives, and I could see she's not coming from a place of love, of compassion, of kindness, of respect. She's not coming from a place of, hello, the fruit of the Spirit, being kind and caring, or just saying, I'm going to politely disagree with you. And let's be honest, there's a lot of disagreements that go on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and on and on. So there's a lot of conflicts on social media, and I'm aware of that, and I'm sure you've experienced it. And yet we can come to this new place of, it's a new perspective. It's building awareness that when we are now very educated, very aware, we have knowledge, we have facts about toxic relationships, we can then reevaluate every single relationship in our life right now. So we're not looking only at the family dynamics. Now we're looking at other people. How do people treat us on social media? How do people who used to be our best friends, what's going on in our relationship today? Because if there has been a significant change and we feel like we're filling their cup, and we're giving and we're giving and we're giving so much of ourselves, and yet they're draining us, they're exhausting us, and we're like, phew, I'm done. I am done with this negative energy. No more. Then we can very politely say, this friendship ran its course. this friendship is not going to move forward. I wish you the best. And then we carry on. And that is taking the higher path. We're not going to be fighting with them and have conflicts and argue and explain ourselves. And we're not going to have this big division where we're battling on who's right and who's wrong. Because at this point, let's really call it out. What's more important to you? Being right or getting along with others? Because we can understand that when it comes to someone who is toxic, they don't care about getting along. They care about being right, and they will trample all over your boundaries. They will cross it again and again. And so we see this pattern. It's repetitive. Just like the narcissist has a pattern, so do toxic people. And so we can understand that this is something that's shouting and demanding for our attention. And so I'm going to sum up some signs that are warning signals of toxic relationships. Number one, if they say to you, I can't remember saying that, I can't remember doing that. If they suddenly have selective amnesia, oh, they're so forgetful. Understand that they're not taking accountability and ownership of their words, actions, and motives. Number two, if they accuse you of saying things and doing things that you did not say or do, this is a clear sign of projection. While I don't have notes, I do have my book. I'm working actually right out of my book, Soul Rescue, How to Break Free from Narcissistic Abuse and Heal Trauma. I'm on page 117 for anyone who has my book and wants to catch up to speed on this page. Scroll on down to the 15 warning signs you are in abusive relationships, and let's move forward. If someone is being sneaky and manipulative, if they're gaslighting you, that's a sign of a toxic relationship. If someone is trying to make you feel guilty, or if they're dumping toxic shame onto you, that is not a healthy relationship. If they are pathological liars and they're covering up the truth, red flag. And here's really the core root of what really matters in your relationship today. The core root, the core foundation, what matters is that people are transparent, authentic, trustworthy, and you and they can get along mutually. Now, if this person is not an honest person, if there is no trust, if your gut instinct says, oh, I don't think I could trust that friend of mine, or I don't think I could trust that relative or coworker, then don't deny your conscious reality. Please, please consider cutting ties with toxic people. Next would be if they lack empathy and compassion, and if they don't have remorse for hurting you. So if they start saying and doing things that really do hurt you, just kind of cuts like a knife, and they're not sorry and they don't repent, and they just have this big agenda that they must be right and you must be wrong, and that's just the way it is, and you need to just be quiet. Again, very, very unhealthy dynamics. That is a sign of a psychologically abusive relationship, and that's not a true friend. That's not a genuine person, whether it is a family member or someone who is an acquaintance, or it could be a partner, intimate relationship, etc., etc. Next, if they start disappearing, they're missing in action, you never hear from them, they don't call you, you feel like you're giving and giving and giving and giving. Understand, you deserve better than this. Don't let these types of relationships that are so unhealthy and toxic and abusive drain you, exhaust you, and burn you out. Instead, build awareness. Try to right now consider all of your relationships, even if you need to get a piece of paper and write pros and cons. One side, pros to stay with the relationship. Next side, cons, why you should leave the toxic relationship. And then use wisdom, have discernment, and cut the ties if that is what you feel led to do. Now, obviously, there are some relationships that are worth keeping and reconciling, and by all means do whatever you feel in your heart and soul is best for you. So share with me, I'm super curious, have you ever experienced friendships, relationships, and even it could be again with your coworkers, ex-friend even, that after time you realized they were toxic, and that just because you were in a relationship, and it could have been for a long, long time with this person, that at one point you could see that it was poisonous, it was unhealthy, and it was not doing you any good. So share down below, have you been in more than one toxic relationship? Did you end any relationships? Was it with a friend, a coworker, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a relative? And again, this doesn't mean that everyone is a narcissist or even a flying monkey. There are people who are just toxic. Toxic is very sabotaging to us, to our healing journey. And so today, please know that you are worthy and deserving of safe, healthy, respectful, kind-hearted relationships. Let's keep the comments going down below. Share with me what you've experienced. If you've walked away from some toxic relationships, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and you can visit me at danaarcuri.com. Thank you and have a beautiful day.